So I would be talking about the practice essentials of radiotherapy for oncoplastic surgery. And in this, I would be just restricting the talk on breast conservation surgery because it's impossible to cover the post reconstruction setting after mastectomy as well. So the flow of the presentation would be like how we have moved through the surgical standards, how the radiotherapy has evolved, and what is the impact of oncoplasty on radiotherapy planning, as well as how radiation impacts the morbidity of oncoplastic breast surgery. I would be also presenting few case examples and giving practical tips to enable radiotherapy planning for in the setting of oncoplastic breast surgery. So, as we have already discussed in our previous session, also the local regional treatment is seeing a paradigm shift, and we have moved from aggressive to conservative approach, and this is seen in the surgical paradigm as well as in line with the surgical moving standards. The radiotherapy paradigm has also been changing. So, gone are the days where the patient was given a mastectomy scar and there was no breast mold. So the whole scenario now is current modern radiotherapy and breast cancer management is on the decreasing the feeling of mutilation, but not at the chance of reducing the cure for the patient. So oncoplastic, when you talk about oncoplastic breast surgery, it is all about being aesthetically safe. Both the things are very pertinent because optimizing oncologic outcome is the priority. But if you could deliver this with a good aesthetic sense, so maintaining the breast mold shape and size and the symmetry of the breast is very important because the studies have shown that it has a psychological direct connection with the psychological adjustment of the patient, and hence if you are leaving a patient with an asymmetric breast, it will serve as a constant reminder of cancer treatment, and hence all the focus is about reducing the feeling of it's not even over when it's over, because seeing all the side effects of treatment, patient will have a constant reminder of cancer. So I will not go too much in detail about the various displacement and the replacement techniques. These have already been covered by Dr. Shalaka very well. And what I would like to present here is that it's very important for the radiation oncologist to have a basic understanding of all these procedures, because as you know, it is the onus on the radiation oncologist to be able to delineate the tumor bed accurately. Hence, there is so a wide armamentarium of for the choice of oncoplastic procedure, and there are multiple factors which are taken into account while by the surgeon while offering a particular procedure. So the most important is the volume of excision, the location of the tumor, as well as the breast tumor ratio. So and the patient preference is the most important thing, whether the patient is willing for a symmetrization procedure of the contralateral breast. So when we talk about the skin incisions in case of non-oncoplasty scar, we know that the tumor was located near the scar. There was no movement. The clips are also beneath the surgical scar. But this is not true in case of oncoplastic breast surgery, because skin incision is not serving as a gateway for the tumor bed, and hence there is a lot of uncertainty. I mean, if you are not well experienced, not seeing many cases, it's always confusing how to go about with tumor bed delineation. So what has been seen in literature is that there is a considerable underreporting of the radiotherapy details. Whatever studies have been published, they have just given us the outcome with respect to the cosmetic outcome, the quality of life, or the details of the surgical procedure. What has not been reported is that the radiotherapy details, and this is where which is very important, especially in the type of cases that we see, because we cannot extrapolate Western data to our setting, because in at least in Indian scenario, and the thing will be similar in Bangladesh, around 90 to 95% of cases would need radiotherapy because they are high risk. Patients are young, and hence we ought to you so you would hear a debate that if your oncoplasty is giving you wide margins, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, is there really a need of boosting a tumor bed? So that is all dependent on the risk profile of the patient, and for the cases that we see, I don't think that more than 10% of patients would in which we can forego boost. So it's very important to keep this thing in mind while extrapolating Western data. So this is just an example on what is the bearing of the surgical procedures on the shape of the lumpectomy cavity and what we would be seeing in a postoperative scan. So if you see in type 1 oncoplasty, the first figure, there is approximation of the cavity walls. Only the cavity walls are approximated, and there is no mobilization of the breast tissue outside the quadrant. But however, if you see the type 2 procedures, these are all reduction procedures. Here in this case, you can, in the superior pedicle, you can see that the medial and the lateral walls have been approximated in the midline. And but the nipple areola complex has been repositioned. So you on a planning CT, you may not be able to get a direct correlation with the nipple areola complex. Similarly, in the next picture, you can see that the medial and the lateral walls are approximated, but they are approximated at one end of the lumpectomy cavity. Similarly, in the inferior pedicle, the medial and lateral walls are approximated, and but the superior wall is displaced upwards. So you have to have a clear understanding of the procedure, exactly which procedure the patient has undergone. Similarly, in the round block technique, the mediolateral walls are approximated in the midline without any relation with the scar. And in the last panel, you can see that the superior and the inferior cavity walls have been approximated in the midline of the underlying tumor bed. When you talk about the replacement techniques, that is when the excision volume is high, so you can replace it with the tissue. The cavity can be replaced with a flap. So the autologous tissue is the most commonly employed tissue to fill the post-op defect, and patients suitable for this will have a relatively large resection cavities, and it allows generous margins to so that there is no concern about margin positivity or increase in the re-excision rates. And the most important advantage is that it does not require correction of the contralateral breast, which is very common in our patient preference. And tumor bed delineation is also relatively easy, as the flap is usually placed over the original quadrant. So this was one of the study which had reported the quality of life of patients. So as you can see, all the patients I picked up this study. This is a small study because here in this study, the radiotherapy and the whole breast radiotherapy and boost details had been given. And as you can see, there was a higher incidence of fat necrosis in patients having large breast size, and this is because patients with higher adiposity, it's likely that we find a little difficulty in controlling the dose inhomogeneity, and it's very important to maintain an optimal boost volume, and you can be generous only if it's required. But if the tumor bed has been meticulously delineated, it will give to an optimal outcome. So if in this study they saw that every 10 cc increase in the boost volume increased the risk of breast edema as well as fibrosis, and hence it's very important to accurately maintain the breast tumor ratio. So let us talk about the concerns in the radiotherapy planning in OBPS. So, as I have already mentioned, the incisions are remote, can be removed from the index quadrant. There is displacement of the cavity walls. Studies have shown that the cavity walls after surgery, because the patient lands up with for surgery around 4 to 6 months after the surgical procedure. So there is a chance of displacement of the cavity walls. Uh, the base clips alone would not provide a guidance, so it's always better to have something placed on the walls of the mobilized breast tissue. And you will see seroma not only in the bed region, but you will also see seroma tracking along the mobilized parenchymal pillars. So one may an inexperienced oncologist would confuse this seroma, which is tracking along the mobilized pillar, with the tumor bed seroma. So it's very important to differentiate this thing. And displacements up to or shifts up to 1 centimeter have also been reported as well as in the flap region, because after surgery, lots of changes, post-operative changes come along over the few months when the patient is receiving adjuvant therapy. So all these factors have been reported, and this can lead to inadequate coverage of the tumor bed. And hence, it's very important to keep on studying the cases in detail, as well as maintaining a prospective audit of your own cases. So let us see what are the practice essentials. When you have a case for oncoplasty for breast radiotherapy, it's very important to review the pre-operative clinical examination, pre-operative imaging, and generally at least the basic minimum. You will have a mammogram with you, and that will tell you at least the distance between the skin and from the thoracic wall. You will have an ultrasound, an MRI if available, or a CT, PET CT. So all the imaging has to be taken into account, and also see the clinical notes. You may not see the patient pre-operatively always, but you can always review the pre-operative details documented by the surgeon at the time of baseline evaluation. And another critical thing is to evaluate study the pathology in detail, because the margins in each, how the margins have been reported, and which is the what is the type of procedure, and how much of the skin has been removed. All these things also help in a great way. So position of the skin scar, as I already mentioned, may not be representative, and hence from the all the imaging you can get the depth of the deepest margin. And also, it's always pertinent, as already mentioned by the previous speaker, the importance of maintaining a consistent protocol of clipping your tumor bed. So minimum, as has already been mentioned, 4 clips should be should be a minimum to which should be placed over the base, and the clips over into the breast parenchyma are also advisable. But sometimes these clips tend to move, because the clip doesn't stay well on the fat tissue. Hence, what you have to generally robustly follow is the clipping the base of the tumor bed. So, if you have a patient for tumor bed boost planning, so I would divide how you can go about it. There are perioperative measures which you can employ, and there are post-operative measures. So, as I already discussed in pre-operative evaluation, it is the clipping that helps the identification of the cavity walls, and few centers who have intraoperative radiotherapy have also employed this for delivery of the boost before the surgeon goes on for rearrangement of the cavity rearrangement of the breast tissue. There is also a biodegradable device which is radio opaque and which can be seen post-operatively. The issue with this device is that if the patient is receiving adjuvant radiotherapy few months after the surgery, it may not be very well appreciated, and moreover, this device is not even available in our country. And You can also acquire a CT preoperatively. You can acquire a CT scan in the planning position. This is also a common practice in few centers to enable, because you cannot directly fuse your baseline staging imaging for radiotherapy planning because of the difference in the inclination of the acquisition of CT scan. So when we have to when we talk about the post-operative measures, what is important is to have an SOP, so that you can meticulously document. This is a draft of the SOP that we use it at our institute, and here you can see all the margins, the type of the procedure, as well as the individual margins have been included, and there is definitely a scope for documenting the preoperative presentation, the surgical technique, diagram space for the surgical technique, as well as the postoperative outcome. So this is very important, and crosstalk with your surgeon is very important, especially when you are, it's new, and in a year or so, when once you have done 10-15 cases, you will gain confidence, and then maybe the apprehension bit of understanding the procedure and how the procedure looks on your planning CT, the apprehension will reduce. And this really is very critical and very helpful in gaining the confidence. So review the histopath and also follow the SOPs. And there are guidelines for delineation of the tumor bed, which have been given by the JAC Histro. And this is an example of how the procedure, what is the tumor location and the procedure which the surgeon has done. So you have to demand such kind of diagram for each patient. So coming to the techniques of tumor bed irradiation, as we are all aware, it could be with electrons, photons, brachytherapy, or intraoperative radiotherapy. So I would now present few case-based discussions so that it will be easier for us to understand how non-oncoplasty case, how type 1 and type 2 oncoplasty cases can be dealt with in radiotherapy planning. So this is a cavity visualization score, and which has been given in the Histro paper of tumor bed delineation. Cavity visualization score 1 is that there is no cavity. You can only see clips. You can't make out anything. And this is the spectrum of moving from open cavity to the closed cavity. In open cavity, you will see the seroma, you will see the clips, as well as the cavity is very homogeneous. So the cavity visualization score is maximum, that is 5. But if it is heterogeneous and indistinct margin, it can be a score of 4. Similarly, if you come at this end, which is typically the case when the patient undergoes reduction. So this is the cavity visualization score. So coming to a case of BCT without oncoplasty, she was a 60-year-old lady with left. With the right breast, large operable breast cancer, it was the TNBC. She underwent lumpectomy outside, and after receiving NACT, she underwent BCS and axillary clearance at our institute, and there was a complete pathological response. And so these margins have not much relevance because, as such, there was no tumor. So so this was the preoperative mammogram. And this is the planning scan, which you can see. So this is the seroma, which is very well seen on the planning CT. These are the clips which are seen, and this is the scar. So everything is perfectly placed, everything in one area. So in such cases, we don't find much difficulty. And as the tumor bed was very deep, so the delineation, as you can see, it's was a deep tumor. So that's why in this particular case, the cavity visualization score is 5, and margins are very clearly defined. And being a deep cavity, we did employ a simultaneous integrated boost in this case. Coming to the next case, which is a type 1 oncoplasty. She was a young lady with left OBC, and she underwent lumpectomy outside, and a scar revision and a sampling with type 1 procedure at Eye Institute. And again, there was no residual tumor, and so the margins were wide. So this was again a pre-operative mammogram for her, and you can, if you see here, there is only the tumor bed clip. There is no seroma. Clips are there, but the scar is also is in the same region. So again, here this case would not be very difficult, because the tumor bed and the tumor location are at the scar and the tumor bed are scar is representative of the tumor bed. So it was not a very difficult case for planning the tumor bed boost. So if you plan this, and this is a depth of around 2 to 3 centimeters, so you can very well cover this kind of a tumor bed with and face electrons. And this was the tangent arrangement for the tangent, and this was for the electrons. So that was the patient with the type 1 oncoplasty. Now, let us see the case discussion with type 2 oncoplasty, which was a reduction in this case. So she was a left LABC 45-year-old lady, and after NACT, she underwent bilateral reduction with using inferior pedicle. So there was a residual disease, and she was by PT2N2. So this was the presentation on mammography at baseline. And so as I was mentioning that we should have a clear picture of how the disease was at the time of surgery, what was the surgical procedure that was performed, and what was the post-op outcome. So coming to the various steps in tumor bed delineation, it starts with the CT acquisition, the delineation of the clip. These are the guidelines which have been given by the ISRO, and then you have to delineate the whole surgical scar. Also, if the patient has undergone upfront surgery, you can utilize the baseline imaging, and that is called the image correlated target volume. Then there is an estimated tumor bed volume, which takes into account the clips, the whole scar, the imaging correlated target volume, and this forms the full final CTV, and PTV is given based on the individual margins. So this is what the ISRO says. This was a very small, this is the example which is described in the publication. And this was a small wire localized volume. So they have tried to extrapolate this based on the distance from the nipple and the distance from the pectoral muscle. So I would not say that this is very easy to do or it's very easy to correlate, but yeah, it gives you some idea about its location in the tumor bed. And so this is a composite CTV, which is required to be made inclusive of all the volumes. So the green one is the scar, which is seen on the planning CT, the clips, and this is the imaging in the blue one, and this is the final CTV. So if you, especially in the reduction cases, as the pre-op imaging and the post-op imaging post-op fusion will not be very useful, because the breast has reduced considerably, around 20 to 30%. The volume would be, it depends on how much reduction has happened. And in this particular case, it was reduced to almost half, from 2000 to 1000. And hence, this kind of exercise would be all in vain. So it is important to utilize the things which are pertinent for that case. If in a reduction case, this kind of fusion will not be really helpful. So I have tried to delineate in this case example of in one of our patients, where you can see that the clips have been, CTV has been delineated in green. The The imaging one, it has been delineated in orange, and the pre-op has also been delineated, and the scar has also was contoured, and this was the final union of all the CTV, which is the CTV final. So this was regarding a reduction case, and the last case would be on type 2 oncoplasty with a flap. So this was again a young lady with in whom BCS, upfront BCS with TE flap, thoracoepigastric flap was done, and you can see the various margins have been wide, and she presented to us for radiotherapy planning after chemotherapy, and these are the mammograms for her, and as you can see, this is the whole area of the flap region, and the clips, the region where you can see the clips is the area where the flap has come in contact with the lumpectomy walls. So if you see, this is another case where if you see, if you would end up including the whole of your flap, it would lead to increase in the volume of your tumor bed. So this is just the blue one is the area which is the actual tumor bed, and the pink one is the whole scar, and it's the whole scar, whole flap. The whole flap is not the target volume in for boost delineation. So this is important to keep in mind. So similarly, we tried various boost methods for her, electron 3D CRT and IMRT for her for this case, and you can see that with electron there is too much of spillage of 50% spill in the breast, which is comparable in IMRT, but what is more important is to get an adequate coverage. So in such patients where the tumor bed is deep and the breast size is quite large, it's you would end up using 3D CRT or an IMRT for such cases. So we had done, it's an ongoing audit, so for which we are maintaining since a couple of years, and we are trying to study what were the target volumes, how they were delineated, and what were the methods of boosting used in oncoplasty patients. So around 38 cases we had evaluated, and a total of type 2 oncoplasties were 22. As you can see, the replacement ones were more common in this particular cohort, but of course we see all types of tumor bed, all types of surgical procedures in our institute. So thank you very much.